This is Fred Stokes. Let's get down to the Lint. Just want to welcome you to this episode 101 of Lint Brother episode. Just getting down to the Lint. I'm Fred Stokes. I'm your unofficial Lint Brother, as you're here on and off again throughout our shows that and you get more understanding of what a Lint Brother is. I'm just excited today to have as our guest Danilo Maia.
You got it.
Okay, got that right, Danilo. Okay, so just want to read off just some stuff, man, that when you sent me this, I thought, wow, okay, this guy's done some pretty neat stuff, man. One of the things you're here is that, so you moved, and I got this right, from Sao Paulo?
São Paulo, Brazil.
São Paulo, Brazil.
You got it.
I like São Paulo.
Yeah.
That's my country talk, São Paulo, Brazil. But you moved to America in 1994.
94,
with your family. You have two older brothers?
Two older brothers.
And you're the youngest?
I'm the youngest.
Okay, and so it said that you everybody talks about they have a great family and all that stuff, man. So it's good that you talked about. But let me just read off for you guys here. So Danilo is from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah.
The youngest of three boys, moved here in 1994. And so your husband, he's married, has two beautiful young girls, man. I saw those little angels of his. And he says you worked internationally, worked with Kingdom Encounters International as a media director. Yeah. And you got to travel to places like Pakistan, India, Tanzania, and Kenya. Yeah. And also, too, that you were part of the instrument tech and video stage tech for the Blue Man Group.
That's right.
Okay, and we'll talk about that too. She did that for about 7 years. And then you also did something else I thought was interesting with the Norwegian cruise line. Like, man, how many people wouldn't want to go on I'd work on a cruise, you know what I'm saying? Depending on the ship that's out there. Yeah. But you did that for 6 months, got a chance to travel around the Mediterranean. Yeah. And with the Blue Man Group again. And now it says you're a full-time media director and marketing with Greenway Church in Orlando and Kissimmee.
You got it.
So two different campuses that you have. Yep. And it says that you encountered the Holy Spirit for the first time while working at the church. So we want to talk about that. Yep. And then now you're in video production, which you started and got your start with the current pastor. Yeah. Pastor Wade Mum, who's the senior pastor of Greenway Church, Orlando, and Kissimmee. So, Danilo, that said, man, welcome to the show.
Right on. Thank you, Pastor Fred, for having me on here. Is it all right if I call you Pastor Fred?
Well, that's one of the things that
I'm just used to calling Fred Stokes Pastor Fred because he's an associate pastor here at Greenway Church. So it's an honor to be here, man, and under, what do you call it, the official 101?
101, official video 101. Wow. And where this is where we get down to the Lint. Yeah. So talk a little bit about, your background and what actually, you say you moved here in 1994. So did you guys know as a kid? I know our kids moved here with us in 2008. Right. And I don't know how much of the conversation they had with us before we actually moved here. I think it was, and I need to ask those guys because they were 16, 14, and 12. Yeah. And now they're 32, 30, and 28. Yeah. So how much of the conversation that you and your brothers were part of about moving from Brazil to America, did y'all know anything, or next thing you knew, you guys were moving?
The latter. So, okay. Yeah, next thing we knew, we were moving. I mean, I was 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? We moved in 1994. Born in 87, so I didn't really know much about anything. I'm just kind of going with the flow with my parents, and next thing you know, we're living in my grandparents' house for like eight months because we had sold everything. Oh, wow. And because the reason we moved to the States was due to my dad's profession as a physical therapist, right? And then there were some things that went wrong with the initial proposal of him potentially working at a different state, because Florida wasn't the initial state, right? But we ended up landing in Florida, and he now works in Orlando Advent Health. Okay. And that's a whole nother story that even my dad has more detail on. But long story short, yeah, like it was due to that. So I had no idea in my mind what was going on. I mean, I knew we were in a transition season of our life, but as a 7-year-old kid, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna You just got to go with it.
Now, did you have any perception of America like the movie with Eddie Murphy, Coming to America?
Yeah.
So some kids say, hey, we're moving if they're in the United States, hey, we're moving from Texas to Florida, from Florida to Connecticut or New York or something. Did you have any type of perception? I mean, I know you say you were 7, but did you have any type of positive or negative perception of America before you got here?
No, 100%, because my uncle at the time, he still works at IBM, and he was in Canada. He lived in Canada. He's actually a Canadian citizen and an American citizen and a Brazilian citizen. He's triple threat. And so the whole reason we came to the States was my parents visited my uncle in Canada. They visited the U.S. They traveled down with the car and everything. They fell in love. And my mom's words were, "We're not coming back unless we're moving here, like to live."
Wow.
Right? So it was like a dedicated decision, like we're going to go and live here. Now, I'm blessed to have a mom who was English teacher, English major, you know what I mean, in linguistics. Like she majored in that. My aunt as well she's a retired teacher now, but they spoke perfect English. My grandma, my mom's mom, was what do you call that? Translator, professional translator. And back in those days, there weren't that many women that can even do that. So very sharp, even till this day. At 90, I think 93 years old, real sharp lady, and a translator. So I was blessed to have English tutors, in my home. So, and they knew, and because of my uncle coming back and forth. So I had relatives that would kind of visit the U.S. from time to time. So I had some kind of recollection of what life in the United States was like as a kid. It wasn't super foreign, you know what I'm saying?
So you weren't totally in the dark about America?
Nah, yeah, like I look forward to, my uncle coming back. He had like some gifts. Or first time he brought me a football. First time I ever handled a American football and not a soccer ball. He handed it to me as a gift, and I'm like, and my words were, "This ball is broken."
Like you can't kick this thing, man.
Yeah, I didn't know what American football was.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that. So knowing I was educated as a kid of what the life in the U.S. was, just because of family going back and forth. So I was blessed with that.
Well, and then too, the other blessing I would say is that you got an opportunity to move with two brothers, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in only. Well, I had a brother and a twin sister that they were twins. They passed away. They were younger than I am, and they passed away. But I was raised with two younger sisters, so I don't have a brother in the house. I didn't have that brother I can argue with, that we can hide things from or collaborate stuff. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll lie and you back me up. That kind of stuff. But so to that point, it had to be refreshing, maybe without you knowing that, having two brothers that you can navigate that transition with. And I say that because this whole podcast is talking about Lint brother, talking about life I never tell. And your Lint brother can be your brother, your father, a friend, a coworker, somebody that you happen to meet, and you guys begin to get into a mutual community with. So having that dynamics of two brothers, and coming to the United States, it had to kind of minimize some of the stress, because you weren't an only child or the only boy, and you got a chance to play with your brothers and even going to school. I mean, you're in the 7 years old, you're in the second or third grade, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that kind of a real assessment, like it minimized the stress or the anxiety transition to a new, because you didn't speak in English when you came here?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was tutored at home, and I did take some private English classes before moving to the States. Like my parents kind of prepped us with the linguistics before, so we weren't just like thrown as like these immigrants who didn't know a lick of English. So I knew like real little English, but as a 7-year-old, my mind wasn't even fully developed into the language of Portuguese. So like I had to learn this whole new language. Even to this day, I struggle with Portuguese because I just being living here most of my life now at 37 years old, literally 30 years ago, like 30 years of living in the States, like my main language became English, right? And so, so I was prepped. with that. But coming along with my two brothers, 100%, I felt as I felt super secure, you know what I mean? Like, because I look up to them. They were, you know, my homies. I look like I look up to. So having my two brothers by my side, you know, looking out for me. We were, you know, of course, as kids fight and there's arguments and, you know, all that jazz. But at the end of the day, we have each other's backs to the, like, you know what I'm saying?
Let's stay on that note for a second, because I want to get to the Blue Man Group and being on the cruise. But this podcast is going to be coming out at a time when our country is polarized by, you know, people coming into the country illegal, legally, or whatever it is. But it's almost like, you know, a kid saying, "This is my toy and you can't have it, and you go get your own," and all that kind of stuff. And we don't want to even dive too deep down in that. But did you experience some of that, you and your brothers? Like, I mean, this is 1994, so this was years. Do you think that if you guys would have been transitioning now, would it have been totally different than when you transitioned in 1994, coming from Brazil? Or no? Did y'all experience any negativity or any bullying or any?
Right. No, I mean, at least not to my knowledge or my perception or my perspective. If there was something that maybe my parents or my brothers or whoever maybe you know kept me from knowing that. From my perspective, my experience, I personally didn't experience any kind of stereotype bullying of that nature.
So no fights that happened because somebody called you. Okay.
Okay. I mean, because you know, when we first moved to Orlando, Florida, it's pretty hodgepodge, like a mix of different cultures.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's not like we moved straight to the Midwest where it's like mostly white folks or whatever. Or
to the South where I'm from, up in Georgia, Atlanta. So
correct. Yeah. We did live in Indiana, Fort Wayne, in 96, 97. But by then we were already adapted to the culture so nice that we were just like little gringos running around.
That makes sense. So I want to keep moving on because talk about this whole Blue Man thing.
Yeah.
Those are the guys, and you can explain, the Blue Man Group are the guys that beating the drums and they all painted in blue.
Yeah.
How in the heck did you get that gig, bro?
Bro, I couldn't have painted the picture like.
No pun intended.
Yeah. I couldn't have drummed that drum the way.
Yeah.
No, dude, it was straight like being at the right place at the right time and intervention like that. God he painted that picture for me. You know what I mean? I was playing drums. I was playing percussion, volunteering for this one church, City Beautiful Church, back in, I want to say it was 2013. That's when I first started working at Blue Man Group. And the audio engineer that was also volunteering at the church, Mr. Tony, he just happened to be the audio supervisor for Blue Man Group, Orlando. There's many Blue Man locations. You know, you got Chicago, Las Vegas, Boston.
I didn't know that.
Germany.
So it's a bunch of blue men.
Blue dudes. and New York. New York is the main hub. That's where it started.
So it just kind of happened. You call it a God thing.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see the guys out of character? I mean, did y'all hang out together? Did you go to dinner? Did you see those guys outside of being blue?
Oh, yeah. But before, so going back to how I got the gig, so I ended up talking to Tony after the percussion, playing percussion at church, and he just said, we're just talking shop after when we're breaking down, and he just brought up, I said, where do you work at? Oh, I'm supervisor at Blue Man Group. As a matter of fact, this week it just opened up a position. The MIT position was musical instrument tech, opened up that week, and he suggested that I would apply for the job, and so I did. And bro, when I tell you I wasn't qualified for this because to be an instrument technician for a Blue Man Group a show that size, you would think you would need to be super. I'm just a drummer who I can change my own drum heads. And I didn't even. And this is first time confession here. They didn't know this, but I didn't know how to change a guitar string, and I'm supposed to maintain an 86 string instrument called the zither.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So And so I applied, you know what I'm saying? And before that, I had met some dudes that were in Blue Man. So I had dropped some names in there. You know, my homie Kevin, well, his last name, Kevin Connolly. Sorry, dude. Yeah, Kevin Connolly. And Anthony Perulli, who was at the time the Blue Man captain. So in my cover letter, I dropped those names. So that eventually, I believe, helped me get that gig. But to your follow-up question, oh yeah, seeing the guys out in Blue all the time. Yeah. In the dressing room, you probably see more than you want to see.
So you,
and it wasn't Blue.
So you said something that you didn't know how to change the strings of that particular instrument.
Bro.
You were you quoted just a drummer.
Underqualified.
Right. So I'm saying that because, Danilo, it leads me to say things happen for a reason.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that door was open not by you, but it was a God thing.
I wasn't even looking for it. I didn't even know that was a door to even open. Right. Yeah.
Wow. So you go from there as we continue to kind of navigate down this path. To where I want to get to down to the Lint issue. So you go from there. How do you go from there to the cruise ship? The same thing, Blue Man guy?
Blue Man, yep. So the second year of working at Blue Man, I get an email by the Blue Man folks. BMP at the time was the folks in New York. They're the headquarters. And I got an email saying that there was a position opening because the contract was going to be it's like a 6-month contract for the crew and a 4-month contract for the performers. And so the contract was going to be over. So they sent a mass email out to whoever, hey, the contract's going to be up. If you're interested, apply here, da-da-da-da-da. I saw the itinerary, bro, Mediterranean, talking about Barcelona, like up the coast of Italy. So you got Capri, Civitavecchia, Livorno, and then Cannes, France, up to Mallorca, Spain, and back to Barcelona. That was the route for 6 months. And I'm like, sign me up.
Sign me up. Now were you a believer at the time? Were you were Christian? You were Christian at the time.
At the time. This was 2014.
So
right?
you were good because the cruise ships now, they're cruise ships.
Oh yeah, bro. And
I mean, they're cruise ships now.
Talk about ship life.
Okay.
Ship life is not for everybody. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so, but the Lord had grace on me because I did end up finding a ministry on board called the Anchor for the Soul.
Okay.
And they had church and everything. I got involved with that.
So you needed that kind of helps to be out because you out there on the water for all those days, man.
Oh man,
like okay,
you're out in the deep sea.
That's right. Yeah.
So that was the following year of getting started with Blue Man in 2013 as just a part-time tech. Then I got this, full-time seasonal position for 6 months on the cruise ship where I was the only tech for Blue Man on the cruise ship. And that was an experience I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It's a life-changing experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you leave there, you go to that 6-month stint, you leave there, and how do you get to the church? Because you're part of the church at the time here at Greenway Church.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at Greenway.
Okay. And so you're rolling through that process. You go on the cruise. After the cruise is over, you mentioned something about, as I was reading about COVID. Did you work all the way up to COVID?
I would still be involved with Blue Man till this day if it wasn't for COVID. COVID is the one that put a complete stop on all entertainment, period. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like all my entertainment friends, I didn't know what, because they're full-time entertainment, and now there's no entertainment, gathering of people, and we banked on that. That's how the company, the business kept going, is butts and seats. So you couldn't do a digital version of Blue Man Group. It's an experience. You have to be there.
Okay.
You couldn't do it online. It's just it wouldn't work.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so with that said, I've talked about that, right? So we've talked about you guys coming to America. Your family, your youngest of 3 boys.
Yeah.
Didn't have much bullying going on. You have a great relationship with your brothers, I take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, real good. Yeah.
And your mom and dad still living?
Yeah, okay. Still living. Still, still married. Still happily married. So I'm blessed to come from a real grounded, consistent family life.
Okay. Now, what is your relationship with your dad? Do you have a better relationship than you think with your 2 brothers, or just different?
We're just different, man. I connect with my dad on a different level because we're both musicians, and his dad was a musician too. We're all drummers, you know what I'm saying? So that's where the drumming gene came from. And so,
did he teach you? Did he teach you some chops?
Oh yeah, he showed me all the ropes. You know, he's my sensei. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so shout out to Dad for that, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today, music wise. You know, and shout out to Mom for even motivating me to get the Blue Man gig, because she was the one that's like, no, she's like, they saw the opportunity. They're like, I don't care if you don't know how to change a guitar string. You go to YouTube and you learn.
Wow.
And so it took me 20 minutes to change my first guitar string. And my dad has guitars laying around. And so I learned on that. And so, yeah, so they were very supportive, very, involved in cheering me on.
So sometimes, you know, you talked about how you got here, your brothers, you know, the whole Blue Man thing, your mom being the profession that she was, your dad doing what he did,
right?
And you're saying, you know, it just so happened that you got that opening with Blue Man, right?
Right.
And then now you said I didn't know how to change the guitar strings, but your dad's a musician, so so it's like it's all these things that are in place that sometimes we can't see. As they say, we can't see the forest for the trees, right? So that said, I mean, to me, now it sounds like to me, as this kid coming to America, you got, you know, the two brothers, you got the life. I mean, you and the Blue Man, you're on the cruise. I mean, everything's going great. Of course, COVID hits and kind of shuts everything down. But how are you doing, doing that whole process? Because were you married or were you dating?
So, yeah, I mean, we've pedaled back to 2012. That's when I met my wife. At the time was just a pretty girl I saw at the show that I was playing drums for when I was in Brazil. No, this was pre-Blue Man, pre-cruise. This was 2012. So I was traveling to Brazil, playing drums for this artist called Benja, and I played drums in my wife's town at the time, and they went to go see the show, and I connected with her friend through Twitter, you know, after the show, whatever. I'm translating for the artist. I'm just the drummer.
Don't tell me you're gonna get the friend hookup.
Well, it wasn't my intention.
Hey, I like him, girl. Want you dating? You know?
That's like, I mean, I don't know if we got time to rewind that whole story. You know, of how, like, you know, my connection to my buddy Benja and how we connected and how God worked, you know, through him to impact my life in such a a huge way, you know. But it was my relationship with him and friendship that we developed that led me to play drums with him, create music with him, travel with him, and ended up meeting my wife on one of the on the first tour ever that I've done. You know what I'm saying? And his first tour in Brazil. And so to answer your question, so we developed that relationship back in 2012. So yeah, we were dating still through this whole timeline for 3 years, long distance.
Wow.
Her in Brazil, me in the States. Probably saw each other maybe one time each year during that 3 year span, and at each time was probably about, like, you know, no more than 3 weeks.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my wife for being patient,
to say the least. Yeah. But so then I'm picking up some things here, man. So it's like your life is being, you know, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord." Even we can't see it. So you're going through ups and downs and turns left and right, and you've been shifted.
Yeah.
But it seems like to me, as I listen to you talking, the one common denominator that's in your family with your wife is traveling. Like, you traveled here. Then you got with the Blue Man Group and you're traveling. Then you get on a cruise ship and you're traveling. You mentioned earlier, which I skipped over, not intentionally, but you traveled to Tanzania and to Kenya and all. Right. So you just, I mean, did you think about that at the time, or was it just happening?
Just happening, man. Like, I couldn't have written a 10-year plan for you. I wish I was that wise or ambitious to be like, this is my goal. But the Lord has just been carrying me in such a like, I don't know what the word is, but like, it's just like full of favor. Like I just feel like I'm a man that has the favor of God on his life, because, man, like, we don't choose the families that we're born into. We don't choose the timeline that we're born into. and the situations. We're just born. You know what I mean? So back to Psalms 139. I knew you before you were born, and like the book of your life is already written before the foundations of the earth. So I'm just thankful to God to be the person that I am today in the timeline that I am today, to be here talking about it even. Yeah. So yeah.
So and traveling is basically in your blood. I mean, you don't mind traveling.
I love traveling. Yeah. I think it grows you as a human being just to know other cultures, get familiar with other languages. You don't have to be proficient in other languages, but it just grows you as a human being, man.
Yeah, I would agree too, because playing football, each one of our boys were born in different states. Lance, our oldest, was born in Virginia.
Yeah.
Landon, our second son, was born in L.A., and then Luke, the youngest, was born in St. Louis. So they all were born in different states. They got a chance to be around people from different cultures and different backgrounds.
Yeah.
To me, I think that to your point, Nell, I think it causes you not to be selfish.
Yeah.
I think it opens your perspective on different cultures and different people, and so that you don't encapsulate yourself in just your culture, and then you become selfish and you think your race, your culture, your country is all it is.
Yeah, 100%. Like the most humbling experience for me was when I was with Kingdom Encounters International Evangelistic Organization with Caleb Wampler, Caleb and Joshua.
Yeah. Go figure.
Go figure. Best friends from high school. Shout out to Caleb and Joshua for, trusting me and, our friendship. But yeah, Pakistan was my first trip to the Middle East. And, I come from Brazil, so third world country, right? Grateful to live in the U.S. But when I was in Pakistan, it was a whole nother ball game.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it just I put a reality check when I stepped foot back on U.S. soil. I'm grateful to be an American. Now, you know what I mean? Like we have it all. You know what I'm saying? But it was a reality check. It's like, man, they're okay. They're good. Of course they have their struggles, but the stuff that we struggle and complain about is a dream for them.
Man, it's interesting you said that, because when we were at our other church, we were doing home groups, Bible studies, life groups, they call it at the other church. And one of the guys that was a part of our life group, he came from either Kenya or somewhere over in another country.
Yeah.
And we were talking about some of the luxuries that we don't think are luxuries. And the way he explained it to us, he was like, you guys walk into your home, you hit this little thing on the wall, this little switch, and it clipped the lights on. And you didn't even think about it. Like, you hit it and you expect the lights to come on.
Yeah.
Like where he grew up is like there was no such thing.
Right.
Like as a light switch and lights come on. Like just the simplest things of life that we take for granted.
Yeah.
It was amazing to him. And I think everybody should, again, have an opportunity to expand your boundaries, to take on other cultures, and even to experience life in a different way, where if you live in the city, go to the country, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because again, I think the whole concept is to have you appreciate life, right?
100%.
So all of that said, now I want to do something that epitomizes this show.
Yeah.
Like Lint, brother.
Yeah.
Let's get down to the Lint. So you've done all those things, all those accomplishments. You got your family, which is intact.
Right.
You're not sitting here saying you came from a broken family, or your dad was not abusive to you verbally or otherwise, right?
Right. Praise God. Yeah.
How long you and your dad and mom have been married?
Over 40 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the context of this is like you've done all of those great things, right? And you've traveled the world in a sense. Done some things that some people may be envious of. Like, man, if I had Danilo's life, man, I'm sitting here with my jacked up life and I'm watching this YouTube channel, podcast, and dude, he's got it going on, or had it going on. But that being said, now let's transition and let's get down to the Lint.
Let's go.
Okay. So question.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time when you felt like giving up, quitting, or just throwing in the towel altogether? Like, I'm out. I'm done. Hasta luego.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby. I mean, was it ever a time when you really felt like just, I can't make it. I'm done, or I'm gonna quit. Even to the point where maybe you thought about suicide ideation or something. Talk about that.
I mean, thankfully, man, like I haven't had a really crazy experience in that sense after I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior, right? And had that Holy Spirit encounter here at Greenway Church back in 2010, right? Since that moment, my life turned around and the doors have just been opening, and you could just see God's hand on my life. And so because of my life situations, I never really encountered deep depression, but like during high school and, you know, my BC days, but before Christ days, you know, I encountered depression where the thought of killing myself would, you know, pass through my mind.
Wow.
You know, where I'd be just driving on the road, and I don't know why, you know, it was the enemy, you know, in retrospect, just kind of like, let's take this kid out. You know, just the thought of like, man, I could just end it all now and I didn't have any reason to end it all. You know what I mean?
So just pause for a second. So externally, if I'm looking at your life,
right,
I'm going, dude, he's got it going on.
Yeah.
And probably at that same moment or a couple of days before or after that, wow.
And, you know, and this was before all my kind of adult success, you can call it, if you will. You know, you never reach the top, right? You're always growing. You're always striving for more, you know, learning more, learning new skills. We never reach the point where we're like, all right, I've made it, because there's always more, you know, that's just the human mentality. We're created for eternity. So we have that thing inside of us that's always going for more. But like before, when I was, you know, growing up as a teenager, later teenage years, you know, I was, you know, a lot of the time under the influence and just not living right for God, you know, and so, but I was still going to church, you know, I was living this double life at the time, and most folks didn't know. And so like, I wish at some points, one of my thoughts were like, why, I wish I didn't know what I knew about what was correct, so I could just so I could be all in sin and be guilt-free, you know what I'm saying?
How many people, man, struggle with that? Like information, they said, when you know better, you do better, but that's not always the case. When you know better, sometimes it just torments you more because you know the truth, and you're still doing. I mean, I was in that same situation. I know exactly what you're saying. But now, who was there? So when you're going through this issues, and don't get me wrong, because you're saying something like BC, before Christ,
right?
It still happens because we're men, right?
Right.
We're human beings, not just men, but man in general.
Yeah.
Was there somebody there to talk you through that, to navigate you through those tough moments, or did you just get another gig and it kind of got pushed in the background?
No, I mean, Pastor Wade was a big, you know, influence at the time, you know, because I remember when I got into some trouble with some cops, and my parents put me with Wade, and he talked some sense into me. So I've always had that influence with the church and here at Greenway. So it's a blessing to have full circle, to be back now working full time for where my whole spiritual journey pretty much started.
So in essence, you know, with that said, you've had these thoughts, right? Because you battle with, you know, that party life and kind of, I mean, but you weren't raised that way.
No, no, you know, it's like you just go with the moment, you know, high school kid, hanging out, skateboarding, rebellious lifestyle. One thing leads to the next. You got all the older brothers who are on the scene, and you're just kind of like grandfathered in as the younger brother who's like, oh, you're this guy's brother. You're whatever. You're part of the clique or whatever, and you just go with the flow. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it made me who I am today and what I know about that life. So, you know, the Lord always turns everything for the good.
What do you mean what made you who you are? What do you mean like,
you know, like what I know and what I experienced, like with drugs and alcohol, you know, for someone that is going through that now, I can speak to them because I know.
But some of the guys you went through this, they didn't make it out.
No.
Right?
Yeah. I've got some friends that, you know, committed suicide or died.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because of drugs and alcohol.
But how did that impact you, knowing that you were there? I mean, not physically there, but you were part of that group.
Yeah. I mean, one of them was a homie of ours. He was a skateboarder. His name was Brandon Nevius. and he passed away a couple of years already, and he was part of our skateboarding friends and filming, skateboarding all around Hunters Creek here, you know what I mean? But we lost touch after a while, and we never heard of him. And then, at least me personally, kind of lost touch with him. And then I find out that he committed, or I don't know if he committed suicide or he overdosed or if it was intentional or otherwise. But they found him laying in his apartment. At least that's what I know. I don't know.
Now too,
and so that was shocking. It's like, man, that was a friend that we were skating around, and now he's gone. But
think about it though, because it's the nature of this whole our Lint brother. Our core focus is empower men to be emotionally free, not emotionless, right? We still want to have your emotions, but being emotionally free, not allowing your emotions to succumb you, to overtake you, right? And our statement of facts is every man needs another man he can get down to the lint with in the pocket of his life.
Yeah.
That said, don't you think his name's Brandon? Brandon had some of the same thoughts that you did. You just didn't follow through with those. Right.
Yeah. And his situation at home was completely different than mine. He had, from my perspective, like from what I saw when I was over, like a dad who was kind of under the influence a lot, and he was just out in the streets a lot. You know what I mean? Just like leave me alone. Didn't really have much of a close relationship with his brother at the time, and so anyway, it's like his situation was different, which may be what led him to where he ended up. So God rest his soul.
I want to kind of close us on that note, or with that theme in mind. It matters who you have around you, and you talked about
100%.
Your brothers, your older brothers. You were engrafted in, kind of grandfathered in, right? Your older brothers that are influenced. You talked about being on the cruise ship, and then there was a buffer that was they were doing a Bible study, a Christian group there. So that was a buffer for you.
Yes.
And then you get out of the environment you in with Pastor Wade. Your parents are saying, hey, Pastor Wade, can you talk to our son? Yeah. So there's intentionality behind it.
Yeah.
Do you think that had you not had those buffers and maybe that group on the cruise, maybe your parents not together, you're shaking your head like, no, I've been totally different.
Yeah, because the Bible says sin is crouching at the door.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's there. And we have the decision to either, like Cain, kill Abel or repent and go the other route. The Lord was giving Cain a second chance there, but he decided not to. He decided to kill his brother. Yeah. And so...
And you feel like you've had a second chance or a third chance?
I've had way too many chances. By the grace of God, I'm still here, because if it wasn't for the influence of the people around me, the support of my parents, friends even, I would be either in jail, dead, or addicted, which would probably lead me to jail or death. You know what I'm saying? So 100%, the environment of my environment, the environment of your environment will affect who you turn out to be.
Wow. Well, Danilo, man, I that's a great closer. Your environment will affect, in essence, who you turn out to be. Somebody said, if you show me your closest friends, right, your 5 closest friends, I'll tell you basically your life and what you're doing and what it's all about. If 3 of your 5 friends are drug dealers and smoking and toking and drinking, it's probably a larger chance or higher percentage that you're going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So Danilo, man, I want to thank you for being honest and open, sharing your thoughts, and
it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure, man.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. Yeah.
Yes. So guys, thank you all. Again, this is Fred Stokes, your unofficial Lint brother, man. Continue to tune in, man. Tell your friends about us. Tell your family about us, man. Have other people come in. We're going to begin to change the narrative of who men are and the things that we've been lied to and deceived about our real emotions. So God bless you guys. Again, this is Fred Stokes. Let's get down to the Lint. This is Fred Stokes. to the Lint.